Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I am coming to you fresh off of a nice meal and a 3-hour nap. That nap was very needed because Aloha, little gremlin that he is in the corner over there behind the monitor, I see you. It wouldn't let me sleep at all last night, so had to do that. And probably a good week to do it because of this, not really surprise, but like a lot of people were surprised by the announcement of 6.35, which means I have an early wake up on Tuesday for Deep Dungeon because I got a light party put together and ready to go to hopefully get through that in a day, and then I can release some videos on that this week. So a lot of the usual videos might get pushed back to next week. And that's kind of been the major benefit of this new schedule that I've kind of set up, where I have like a video plan for Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. And it doesn't mean there will always be one on those days. But it means that I'm so far ahead of the schedule that with this surprise patch, I can kind of push those all back and release relevant 14 content this week on the channel, and then already have stuff for next week. And then I'm like 2 weeks ahead. So that's one of the main reasons why I've been kind of enacting that channel update plan going into the new year. And I'm sure like, 50, 60% into the year, that starts to wane a little bit. But at the very least, it's something that's keeping me consistent during the worst months on YouTube, which January, February, and leaning a little into March are not good. They're just not. It's just how it works. But it starts to get better as middle of March goes through and April comes around. So keeping it nice and consistent now and then being able to incorporate stuff later is definitely a little bit of a boost to morale and I don't know, all that stuff. I'm just glad to be releasing stuff regularly and to have like, 15, 16 videos planned minimum in a lot of series out of, 52 weeks out of the year. So please keep an eye out for those. Deep Dungeon guide this week on the new Eureka Orthos, probably a quick video on the Relic, and, State of the Realm on, probably for the next 2-3 weeks, guaranteed. Plus we have the PAX East Q&A, which will probably be its own State of the Realm, its own show. So content plans, it's good. It's because, I saw some people's comments already as I was like just scrolling through to get an idea of how many questions there were. And there's quite a few this week. And people are like, yeah, my algorithm's so weird. This week, my algorithm has kind of started to correct itself, but not too much at the same time. Like there's still like, I don't watch some of this stuff and it's still popping up on the side and I don't understand it. I just don't get it. But either way, it's looking a little better to me over on the side at the very least. Okay, well with that, while I did have that 3-hour nap, I would also like to, finish this up. So let's get to the Q&A. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon. You don't have to support over there. It's there as an option, as is super thanks. But all my content is available for free here on YouTube. So enjoy it, engage with it, like it, comment if you have a question, any of the usual stuff that all of us YouTubers like to tell you to do, because it's what works. And also, don't forget all the sponsors under. I have another of the food sponsors. It's one of the subsidiaries of HelloFresh, Every Plate. It's $1.49 a meal. Now, I've done that before, and I love Every Plate because it's like normally $5.99 a week, or I'm sorry, $5.99 per meal per week versus what's normally like $9.99. But then my discount's $1.49. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting the most you can order in a week is 24 meals. I'm thinking about ordering that because that's like $36. It's like $80 something off from like what it would normally be with the discount code. So that's going to be in the comment section for like the next month, at least on the Q&As and probably State of the Realm. So keep an eye out for that as well. Either way, let's get into the questions, shall we? Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hope you like having the discussion continue for 3 weeks in a row. I don't even remember them until I read them. Are you sure about the Ninja not using LB3? So the way, again, going back, because I've looked at it a little bit more. This actually is something I looked into more. No, Ninjas do LB3 pretty frequently. I think there's only like 1 or 2 other jobs actually that LB more often than them. So yeah, I actually looked into that a little bit because like I said, I've barely played Melee. I played Monk and I never had to LB in that group because I had all the gear. So of course, yeah, that's a big thing is if somebody has less gear, then yeah, you definitely make them LB. But no, I looked into it. Yeah, Ninja LBs. I forgot what job LBs more than them. I think it might be, I think them and Dragoon are like equal, if I recall. But I've been playing so much Octopath that it's already kind of left my mind. Because I looked at it last like week after I recorded this. And I was like, oh, no, they actually do. That's fine. Someone will correct it. I'm sure there's another comment under here that corrects that as well. They're the strongest LB3 because they're less reliant upon filler to gain resources. Yeah, they don't really need all that too much. That's one of the reasons why Reaper isn't very good at LBing, because they get screwed, and Samurai is also kind of there as well. But it honestly, the gear thing matters way more than what job it's best for, I find, but only if there's like a massive gear disparity. Like if you have one melee that's like, it got like an unupgraded tome weapon or like an EX trial weapon, and the other one's got like a savage ultimate weapon. Yeah, that kind of answers it for you, because those 20 item levels go a long way in that LB3 time. But no, yeah, Ninja's one of the more common ones because, like you said, their resources aren't as strict, and also as long as they're nowhere near a 1 minute window, then they don't lose that much from not actually doing it. So either way, that's it. That's the discussion continued, I suppose. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Mr. Haps, hope you're doing well and having a stellar week. Yeah, it's been a good one. Finished Octopath 2, Plat Trophy, all done. So I'd consider that a success. Cut right to the chase. I've been playing 14 since about 2017. Love this game through highs and lows. Don't think I'll ever kick the habit of playing. Well, don't say that, because it's really easy for a gaming habit to turn on its head. That's like, as like creatures, we just do that. Either way, with the release of Endwalker, my playing habits have changed, taking a break from raiding for the first time since Stormblood, almost entirely casual since finishing as Fidelos. So it's a good raid tier. This shift in mindset and engagement on my end, I've noticed a lot of content in Endwalker isn't very repeatable compared to Stormblood or Shadowbringers, and it's really kind of weird. So here's the thing, most expansions don't get much repeatable content until 0.35. It's a weird thing that they do, because it releases with, you know, the raid and the story and, you know, the EX trial, so which becomes like the most redoable thing. And then for the most part, it's about leveling as many jobs as you want to. And then 0.1 comes around, you know, they add a 24-man, maybe an ultimate, you know, tribal quests. But still, most of it is like maybe you repeat the tribal quests every day, and that's still not all too much. And then 0.2 rolls around, and it's the last two expansions been a really easy relic step. Once again, the case here. Some side story quests, those are one time. You know, the new tier, once again, you know, you'll do that weekly. But it's, I don't know why. And then in Stormblood, at the very least, Eureka was incorporated in 0.25. But then that had its own outrage, and Pagos was Pagos in 0.35? Yeah, and then Pagos was in 0.35, and that was a disaster amongst most people. So there's all this. It's been a really weird thing specifically. But yeah, it's Shadowbringers also had the same problem until Bozja kind of hit 0.35, and then we had, you know, Delubrum and the way the relic steps work. Like, it's definitely more repeatable stuff, and that's gonna feel that way with Eureka, Orthos, whether it be for leveling or if you're doing solo attempts or multiple jobs. That's gonna be a lot of content for some people like Angelus. He's gonna probably try to omni complete it on every job solo, which is gonna be a several month, maybe year plus long endeavor. So he's getting a massive amount of content come Tuesday. And then if you're like me, you'll do all 19 relics, which I'm not saying you should be, but yeah, no, this is a recurring problem, more so in the last 2 or 3 expansions than the previous ones. So, you know, you're right on the money that unless you're doing a lot of the more like technically it's all there. Like, the hunt is ultra repeatable. I know people who spend 12 hours a day doing the hunt. Treasure maps are always there to do with friends every few days if you want to gather up a few maps. Same thing with, you know, like I said about Eureka Orthos or Relic Quest. Like, it's there, but it like trickles in super slowly. So you're right on the money, and it's something I've been criticizing for years. I want them to move that style of content to sooner in the expansions and start releasing it, make a habit of starting to release it sooner. But the quick consumable content, yeah, that's most likely the trend going forward. And on top of that, it's likely to still be that the more grindy stuff doesn't happen until about midway through the expansion. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Well met, Mr. Happy. Have you ever tried to learn an instrument? No. Closest thing is me blowing into the harmonica, and that sounds just like just nothing. No, I don't have the patience for. I know this is gonna sound crazy because of all the rating and shit that I do, but I don't have the patience to learn the hobbies outside of gaming, because I dedicate most of my hobby time to gaming and now cooking. Cooking is like the second thing that I do that's like got a large amount of dedicated time given to it. But instruments, no, I lose focus too easily in things like that. I get distracted by something that is more important, and it just loses all value to me. So yeah, no, I don't have any experience in that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Yeah, I got it cut off a little bit, but you can see it. Greetings and salutations and hello. Hi. I've been enjoying your retrospective series for Realm Reborn as a player who, or ARR, as a player who started playing 14 at 6.1. It's cool seeing how the game has changed over the last 10 years and make me happy. I waited. Not sure what that meant. My question is more of a what if. If you could change the role of two jobs, i.e. healer to DPS or tank to DPS, what would you choose? It has to be two? Change the role of two jobs. I guess you're saying I would have to swap them more specifically. No, it would probably be Paladin to healer and Dark Knight to DPS. I think those are two really, really easy ones because it's funny because it's like you need tanks in a game, but at the same time, like those are the ones that immediately, come to mind and scream at me like, you should probably pick those. And yeah, so those, I feel like those ones are obvious, Paladin with Clemency and, the Holy Paladins in World of Warcraft. And Dark Knight really is more of a DPS and almost every other iteration of it. It's usually tanky-er, but it's usually not a tank outside of very fringe cases, looking at 11, looking at, Final Fantasy IV and other games that have the job systems. It's just not usually a tank. So those are my two easy options. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Oh, we have our first not hello. Unfortunate. Are there any types of content within 14 that they haven't explored that you wish they would? For example, 12-player content, more difficult optional version. I don't want more difficult versions of Alliance raids, to be completely frank. Because, I do, a part of me does, but the other part of me remembers the nightmare that was Delubrum and BA. Setting those things up is a huge pain in the butt. And I have nothing but the sheerest, the deepest, profound respect for the people who do it. And the people who still do it, too. People who do Baldesion Arsenal, runs every other week or every few days. Because, different people who run them do them at different intervals. And same with Delubrum. A massive amount of respect. But at the same time, that's the gate of entry, is needing people like that in order to get in. And it's not like you don't need a raid lead for 8 people, but there's so many less people willing to jump from the 8 to the 24 to be a raid lead that it's, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit intimidating for most people to get into. And it's something that likely I wouldn't do more than once. Now, 12-player content I have actually recommended in the past. I've said they should do triple light party content. So yeah, no, that one's one I've actually suggested before. I also wouldn't be surprised to see them just outright do away with 4 and 8 and do 5 and 10. And but that's not really a style of content. That's just a number of people present. So I think it's more important that we see ideas like Criterion, but executed more efficiently than it is to come up with entirely just trying to come up with stuff that fits different sizes as a whole. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Good whatever time it is for you, Haps. I thought it was another non-hello, but that's a hello in its own right, so thank you. Just a fun, quick question since I've been enjoying Octopath 2 as well. Who's your favorite traveler so far? I love Partitio, and I didn't expect to. I love Partitio. He said, I'm out to try to defeat the devil called poverty from the world. He's a special snowflake. Temenos ended up being a big favorite for me. I'm not going to get into spoilers as to why, but his first chapter sold me in the first 5 minutes. Because his chapter starts off in such a way that you're like, what the heck? I kind of understand what's going on. I get it. But what is happening right now? And then, another few minutes pass. And you're like, it's actually laugh out loud funny in my opinion. So yeah, Temenos surprised me and ended up coming out as one of the strongest travelers of the 8. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Haps. Hi, longtime watcher, first time commenting. So go easy on me. That depends on the question. This is on you. There's been a lot of drama with statics lately due to top. It seems like there have been groups that have disbanded due to members not really clicking, whether it be skill level or just general mismatching personalities. Got me thinking, what to you makes a person good to prog clear with in a static setting? Do you personally think it's possible to raid with IRL friends without drama or misaligned goals interest? I think that IRL friends need to have a very serious consideration about what their actual individual goals are. I think it's irresponsible to just say, hey, we know each other, we should raid together. It's very likely that group never makes it, or doesn't make it past another tier or 2, or at some point people are going to bail from it because people do end up with different life goals, even just life goals, because a lot of the times people don't have crazy amounts of time and their time is very fluctuated. If somebody wants to make plans on a Friday night, they don't want to say, oh, I have to raid instead. They want to be able to go out with their friends, but at the same time, they want to keep a static. So there's all sorts of different considerations. I think what makes a person good to prog or clear with is having a good, you need to just be kind of good in every regard. You need to have a good mindset to prog. You need to have a good consistency with doing mechanics. You need to have good DPS. And then great is just when you're all of those things, but you're like a little bit better in all of them. As soon as you start having really recognizable weaknesses, then if those weaknesses ever become prevalent in an encounter, it becomes a huge problem for the overall prog that all 8 people are going to experience. And that's normal. Don't get me wrong. That's a very, very normal thing. Nobody is like, there's very, very few groups that have that like minimum bar of like, okay, I'm at least good at every individual thing. You know, this type of mechanic, DPS, optimization, you know, cooldowns, healing. This very few people meet all of those and then go above and beyond. But the ones that do are usually the ones that have, you know, the most success. So I think that's what it is. I don't think you can't be like a parse lord and then be dog at figuring out or doing mechanics consistently until, you know, way later down the line, or you're constantly dying because you're a parse lord. You're a bad player as far as I'm concerned. If you are just strictly parse lording and are just god awful in prog, God, that is worse to me than anything that could possibly be in a prog setting. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Salutations, Mr. Happy. Hello. Hope your day is going well. Same to you. What would you say is the estimated time frame for 14.6.4 release? May 23rd. I think I actually just looked today because somebody was asking me the same question on stream. So it's generally 19 weeks after patch. So tomorrow is going to be patch 6.35. Tomorrow for you guys. For me, it's Sunday right now. So then we just add, that's 8 weeks in, so let's add 11 weeks. So March 14th, 21st, 28th, that's 3. April has 4 Tuesdays, so that's 7. That leads 4 Tuesdays into May, so 2, 9, 16, 23. Most likely May 23rd, which then a week later, if they decide to keep it, we don't know the status on that yet for Savage. So that's what we're looking at right now. So the big thing is it won't line up with 16's release date, several weeks away from that, which if you're doing hardcore week 1 prog, there's a good chance you clear in the first few days. That being said, Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6, the Final Fantasy 16 demo are all within a couple of weeks of that. And so people are really excited for those things, and then 16's a few weeks later. So there's a little bit of fear in regards to the timing, but for groups doing hardcore week 1, whether or not you're successful, you'll be mostly through before any of that stuff comes out. Hashtag Mondays are happy, sometimes maybe. No, they're not. Hey, Haps, how's it going? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. With 0.35 approaching and finally some new content, do you think the next Relic step will be a decent grind? I don't know what you mean by decent grind, because a grind can be there and be awful, or a grind can hardly be there, meaning like it's really short, but be decent. I hope it'll evolve some fates, as those are always easy money. See, that's why it won't be. It's more likely to be like light farming or objectives, you know, just stuff like books or light. I feel like is a lot more likely. They don't do it too frequently. Light they do all the time. Actually, light is one of the most common things that they do. But yeah, no, I'm leaning on light farming. This patch is what they go for. I don't think it'll be tomes again, but at the same time, it could be like 3 or 4 different options that you have to get the items. So that's always something that you need to levy as a potential option. So I don't think it'll be Fate, specifically because of Fate gemstones being good money. To add on top of that last question, actually, the only way I think it's Fates is if it costs gemstones. So you can't make money and do the relic at the same time. In which case, great, I have 1,000 tucked away, but that's the only way I could see it being Fates, so that you can't double up on both. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Happy. Hi. Hope all is going well and the move is going smoothly. Yeah, actually, most of this stuff right here, like this, and this, these like 3... are mine, and then this is mine, and then my office, well, other than my desk, my office is pretty much done. Most of my stuff is just down, sitting on the floor, and I've also had a wish list set up, and a lot of people have been sending me stuff from the wish list, and I'm gonna do like a big unboxing / like setup stream for like my kitchen, because you know I don't have too many of my own belongings in the kitchen, so I had to set up like a big wish list ahead. But I already got a rice cooker down there, some basic things that are coming in. And yeah, people have been very, very kind at helping out with that, given the expenses and cost of my moving costs aren't too high, but like I do have 1 month of overlapped rent, even if one of them's a little lower, because because of the deal that I got for my move-in. But either way, I got a lot of stuff. Let me just put it this way. I'm keeping busy on YouTube and Twitch largely because of a necessity. And that's why you're going to see sponsored videos. It's why you're going to see sponsored streams. It's why you're going to probably see me do like a marathon style event at some point, because your boy is trying to make sure that after everything that I went through with my mother over the past several years, that my idea of a recovery year is not entirely off the plate. So it's another reason why I was kind of okay not going to FanFest, because I figure at the very least, even just like being in Las Vegas, I usually put some money away for gambling, and then money away for food, and then money away for, you know, merchandise at like the event or all sorts of things. I don't have to worry about any of that now. So, and if anything, it'll turn and go the other way because I'll be at home streaming during all the news. So I think it'll all work out very, very well for me at the end of the day. Anyway, on to the actual question. I want to get your take on Yoshi P's statements on the term JRPG. I also feel like it's become a loaded term. Yeah, it's like, I think a lot of us still use it, but it is a term that really doesn't have that much meaning anymore. Like, it's, how would I put it? I felt like he made a really good case in point in a way that most people wouldn't think about it, and that it puts it in a box, and putting something in a box is you're telling someone it has to be. I mean, he says it all. I don't need to say it again. But I thought it was a very insightful take about the term. And it makes me think about it a little bit more whenever I'm like even just thinking of calling something a JRPG, because I don't want to put something in a box. It's just that JRPG has always represented certain values and certain things that I recognize a game is doing, and not necessarily what the game has to be. Because there's a pretty wide variety of games that kind of present as JRPG, but they don't always share all of the traits that I think some people associate with it. There's usually like a certain minimum number of traits. But at the same time, I've also stopped calling games that like a lot of people call JRPGs, like even before that. A lot more of the action-related ones, and then turn-based isn't always JRPG either. There's like, I don't know, the more I thought about it, the more it kind of made sense, the way that he was presenting the thought. And it's actually, I love those kind of things, and I love hearing the way people can interpret those kind of really minute things. It pleases my brain. So it was one of my favorite discussions / explanations that I've heard in recent time for the terminology. So I thought it was really good. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. Hope you and your family are doing well. Doing everything we can. I know they won't do another limited job. Hey, we don't know that. Probably not, but still. But they ever make a job considered limited as a normal job, like Beastmaster, but as a normal. Here's the thing. If it's not in the game as a limited job, it's not considered a limited job. Now, I know what you mean. You mean like they've mentioned it in the past, like Beastmaster, Puppet Master. Yeah, but if it's not in the game, then it's on the table for a job release. That's the way of looking at it. Heck, I'm never going to even write completely off. I'm not going to write Blue Mage off as a possibility, because I feel like at this point, they've done enough things that I don't expect them to do, or that I've said I didn't think they'd ever do, that it almost feels irresponsible of me to say they won't. But at the same time, like, you kind of have to, like, when they develop patterns, even if they go against it occasionally, you know, I'm sure I'm not the only one who can't help but feel like I need to expect things to be a certain way. And if it's not that, then so be it. And so I don't expect Beastmaster. I don't expect Puppet Master as full jobs. And I also don't expect Blue Mage will ever not be one. But could I ever say for certain they won't be? No, that would be dumb. I'm not the developers or the producer or anything. So just a matter of waiting and seeing. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Yo. Straightforward. Hello, I'll take it. One of my favorite videos on your channel was the video tying together the paths in the original Octopath Traveler. You're planning on doing another. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Yes, but you also don't need to as much with Octopath 2. As they showed in all the promotional stuff, they do tie the stories together directly in Octopath 2 for you. But that being said, there are still little things I feel like that you kind of have to recognize as the player and pull pieces together. So they did a little bit of both this time around, and I thought they did a very, very good job with it. So Octopath 2 I loved, and I actually was going to make some videos for it, but when I found out that Deep Dungeon was coming, and I just already had a bunch of videos ready to release, I kind of just put it to the wayside, because I just is too much too quick I suppose. And it was taking me a while to actually get to the point where I had the time to even release it because I'm also working on the move and a few other things. So yeah, that's a maybe. I'll put that in the maybe category. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hope everything is going well. After that nap, it's going a lot better. I was checking the FF Logs top parsers. Noticed the long uptime phases, like P3 and P6. Phases, you mean fights? P3. Unless, I know you're probably talking about Omega Protocol phases. Bard is doing insane damage, almost melee R DPS. That doesn't sound right to me. I mean, here's the thing, those fights, those phases, it's not always about uptime. They are very, obviously it's better for that. And I guess I could take a look right now, but it's more about the timing of what you get out of a phase and where you can reasonably place things. And phase 3, for example, it's not really so much about the uptime as much as it is it's easy to optimize 1 and 2 minute uses there. Like in phase 1, you are not going to use 2s at the end, but you are going to use 2s at the beginning of phase 2. But at the beginning of phase 2, throughout most of phase 2, you won't get to do cleave damage. You get to do a little bit of cleave damage as Bard. You get like a couple GCDs and then maybe an OGCD or 2, but you don't get a whole lot. And then you're also losing out depending on which target you're actually hitting, because you're probably going to lose individual damage off of one of the raid buffs, depending on, you're probably going to be the sole DPS attacking one of them while the other one has all the raid buffs. So you're going to look worse in phase 2. Phase 3, you get 2 sets of 2s. There's no LB to mess with the damage. There's no weird mechanic that prevents all of that. And so that goes a very, very long way. And then phase 4, you're spent and you don't really have anything tucked away for that phase, whereas other jobs, while they may also not have a whole lot tucked away, are generally going to be better in those weird downtime or those weird, post-buff windows than Bard will be. And then in phase 5, I mean, you'll do okay, but the long downtime phases make it a little weird. And then phase 6, it's, buffs, 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 buffs. You're going to be doing very, very good in that phase as well. But so are the other ones. I don't know that it's melee level. I mean, I looked at some of the early ones for the overall fight. But I would still probably rather have Machinist in that last phase. Let me, I guess I could take a quick look real quick. Yeah, because Bard, I mean, the melees are just massacring the other jobs overall in RDPS, which is funny because the RDPS isn't so important, because when you look at the ADPS, oh my goodness, it's pretty bad. It's really bad on the ADPS front, which actually is very, very useful for a lot of that stuff. But I mean, maybe in specific phases, just because, again, the way that certain things line up with the way the bursts line up and everything. But I don't think that's, again, indicative of it just being uptime. I think that is just the fight timings as a whole, comparatively to some of the other sections, especially because Bard is technically weaker in a lot of the other sections. We got our second non-helloer here, I can already see. Hashtag Mr. Happy and Cats Mondays. No hello. I noticed that the devs have started moving over head markers to be buffs more in patch. Do you think there's going to be a path that will continue down? They'll need to rework the buff system, as I heard in top it did cause some headaches. Well, the buff system caused headaches in Omega Protocol specifically because there were so many. There's like 5 or 6 at once on top of all the other stuff. And there's very few jobs that ever experienced that. We never experienced that. I know that, but our comp wouldn't have ever experienced that. I think they do need to just work at just raising the cap by like 10 more buffs, 10 more debuffs, and that will kind of eliminate most of the issues. But I think it is a thing going forward, and I think it's probably a good idea. It's nice to have buffs and debuffs that have numbers and stuff, but it's nice to have both. It made figuring out Omega Protocol stuff much easier, having all of the stuff recognizable in 2 different settings. So I very much hope that they continue down that line, just with a tweak or 2. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you and your family are doing well. I hope the same for you. Got a 14 and Octopath question. Okay. It looks like the Octopath one is the second one. I definitely want to read that one before I'm afraid of people posting spoilers, One is Bard considered a dot-based class? It was. Now it's just the job with the most dots, so I would hardly consider it a dot-based job. I don't think they're going to have 2 dots next expansion. And I don't think it needs to change. I think, if anything, the dot system needs to be redone as a whole with the way that it sits on that timer. I think that needs to be looked at more than anything. And until they do, I don't see them ever kind of doing a more dot-focused job again, or bringing Bard back into that fold. As for this one, let's see. Yeah, so there's like names of classes that people may not have unlocked, so I kind of don't want to read. Like it's got some stuff that could be considered spoilers. So and I also don't know. Oh, all they're asking is a role for Casty. Honestly, just her as an apothecary. This is all you really need. I made Casty sub-merchant. Because remember, in Octopath 2, you can have up to 3 people being the right sub job, or being the same sub job, as long as it's one of the 8 starting jobs and not one of the bonus jobs. So sub-merchant just made it so that she could be an apothecary and be super OP like apothecaries and chemists always are in games, and then if she ever needed to do something else, she could just throw money at it, which has worked for me in both Octopath games very well. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. First time commenter here. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Same to you. Does Square Enix ever comment on keeping or removing the 1-week delay for Savage? No. I mentioned it earlier in this. No, we haven't heard anything about that yet. But yeah, May 23rd, and then if there's a delay, it would be May 30th for the actual Savage release. The group recently cleared top. We wanted to thank your group for the P5 strats and POV. Were you the person? Wait a minute. I think I recognize your name. Are you the person who made like 1 billion clips? Because somebody, now I gotta check. Now I have to know. There was somebody who went through and made like 1 billion clips of my Phase 5, and they had like a really like simple and like easy name, but it was like, oh man, I just remember seeing it. It was just like position this, position that, position this, position that. And it was, yeah. And then here's a few of them right there. And then where's the one that's like a ton? There's one person who was making just like all of these like links. Like they literally clipped every 30 seconds and made them like their own clips and everything. And I was just like, oh man, I'm trying to find the one that just like made a ton of clips that were all like, you know, no, it's not you. Okay, I see. Well, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you have a different name on Twitch. Yeah, somebody made like Delta Inner Blue, Delta Outer Green, Delta Outer Blue, Delta. Yeah, all of these are just like they're separated. There's a lot of those there. So okay, well, either way, yeah. I'm glad. I'm really happy with our Phase 5 strats that we came up with. So I'm glad that they were of help. No hashtag, but I saw the Hey Haps and figured I would stop and look at it. A question about FanFest: will they be live streaming them all, or just the one? Or just one? Oh, no, they live stream all of them. And they all have different announcements. So, yeah, we have to tune into all of them to get all the info. And I will be. And I will be making content on all of them. So, enjoy. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. I wanted to ask if there's a particular reason why I always get buzz cuts. You ever tried growing hair out longer? My hair was pretty long until recently when I cut it. I hadn't cut it for like 6 months. I cut my own hair ever since, 2020. So, I just... It's easy, It doesn't come out even. There's like tons of little flaws here or there, especially in the back right here, but I don't care. I actually might go get it like cut properly so that way like I can hit the reset button. But the main reason is I hate my hair getting messy when I wake up because I sleep with a mask on now. So like I have the strap over the head and in the back and my hair just gets messed up. And when it's long, it's just like a pain because like when your hair's been like pressed down between my headset and that for like 8 hours a day, it just, even when you just like throw water in it and you brush it and you just get in the shower, it doesn't always conform the way I want to. I mean, look, you can see like right here, it just like there's like a permanent indent because I'm wearing my headset so frequently. So it's just the easiest to deal with, in my opinion. So that's why. But yeah, I do need to go just get it actually buzz cut from someone who can, see all of my head at once, because doing the back here is always a pain, and I would like to just have a break from that for once. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. Hope you're good. Same to you. My question is, if you could pick something from another MMO or game and implement it into 14, what will you choose? Edit. Apparently you already answered this. Yeah, you got to remember, people ask me questions every week. There's bound to be overlap. WoW Transmog, yeah, would have been the first one. Honestly, there's not really a whole lot. Like, most people go to Mythic Plus. I personally don't think Mythic Plus would work in Final Fantasy XIV. I'd rather we do the things that work in our game and make sense for our game, but then make sure to improve on them over time. But yeah, I mean, so in the same, I'll go with World of Warcraft again. I'll go with account-bound mounts and minions, in all honesty. I don't see any reason why I should have to collect another mount on every single character. It's just, I get that the game is built so that you only need one character, but at the same vein, why would I not want this? You know what I mean? Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey there, Happy. Hi. Hope things are okay despite the changes you'll be going through. Sending you best wishes. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm doing all right. I'm just keeping busy for the time being. My question is kind of 2 parts, really short for 2 parts. I was talking about a friend about leveling in 14. They never seem to be motivated to do so because of either spamming a dungeon until they reach the next dungeon level bracket or doing the roulette with the chance of getting synced down and losing abilities. Do you have any information as to why we lose skills when we sink down and ways of alternate leveling that could help my friend out? I always find roulettes to be a refreshing way of leveling, regardless of that, because it's just, you get to, for me, I get to walk down memory lane. Like I get to, oh man, I haven't done this dungeon in ages. Oh man. And sometimes I get to groan at it, be like, oh, this dungeon, I haven't done this one in ages. You know, so it goes both ways, but it's at least a varied experience. And for me, that matters at times just as much as finding something to spam and grind. I always just recommend diversifying. Do some of one at some point and do some of another at some point. Do deep dungeon, do adventure squadrons, do, you know, the daily hunts that are out. Go do some fate grinding, do some dungeon grinding, do some roulettes, you know, do MSQ, do alliance raid, PvP you can level off of. Like, it's just, I always just recommend mixing and matching when you get bored. As for why we lose skills, it's because of the disparity in power between a player that has all their skills unlocked and is synced down versus a player that has none of their skills. And people leave dungeons over the pettiest things. If somebody queues into a dungeon and it's all sprouts with only their low level abilities, there are people who will leave. 100%. And in fact, they'll leave now, even without the extra abilities. So yeah, I don't think we want to give those types of people any more of a reason. And no matter how you balance it, there is going to be a major disparity between somebody who has all of their level 90 skills synced down to level 15 and someone who has only their level 15 skills. Pretty big disparity. It used to be worries about aggro, but now it's just straight up disparity and people are jerks. So that's all. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hi. Good luck with your move. Thanks. It's mostly done. I don't actually own that much. Like, it's honestly my work stuff and some furniture that's like left, and I could have that done in no time. But I mean, I'm not going to because I'm not leaving this apartment until Mel has her living situation figured out, because I have to move like the internet service and all that stuff. Like I have to make it so that once I leave here, I don't function here anymore, and that would make her not able to function here, and that's not fair. So yeah, that'll be a couple months out still. So wondering what's the likelihood that Squeenix is working on the Chrono Trigger Pixel Remaster? 0. I feel like they're gonna look at the fact that they just released Chrono Trigger a few years back, even if it was kind of a flawed version, and just kind of leave it for the time being. I would sooner expect Final Fantasy remasters than Chrono Trigger, in all honesty. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi. Hi. Hope your days are bright and happy. I'm happy. There. Wanted to ask you about your favorite job systems in games, RPGs, and what makes job system good or bad in your view. What is the view on cross-class features, abilities? Only considered it for single player. Would only see cosmetics, emoticons, minions, mounts for multiplayer. I think I understand what you're trying to ask me. I just like job systems that are a little malleable. But here's the thing. In single player games, I don't mind almost any job system as long as there isn't some inhibiting factor on the player. It's a big reason why Final Fantasy III DS is such one I despise so much, because when you swap, you're just weaker for a certain number of fights. And it's just such an arbitrary thing to do. Like, why? What's the point in making me weaker for a few fights because I changed job? Like, what's the reason? Like, what are you accomplishing other than annoying me? You know? But other than that, it's just, you know, you can take an ability or two from the other jobs and mix and match them. Final Fantasy V is one of the most like iconic job systems, simple and efficient, that I think anyone could look to for something that works. But I mean, Octopath's job system works great as well, in both 1 and 2, where, you know, you have the base job, that's what you always are, and then you can unlock every other person's base job as sub jobs, and then you can mix and match those, and everybody's mix and matched main and sub jobs play a big role in how your party comp actually works out. But in single player games, that's fine. In multiplayer games, I find it to be largely not meaningless, but like, so looking at Final Fantasy XI, which is probably the most malleable MMO job system that we have, I guess also kind of not really Rift. Rift's not really sub jobs in the same way, but there's others out there that I could reference for sure. But either way, yeah, even that, it's like you still really only have a certain number of options, and they each fill their own niche. So you never really have complete freedom in online games to do that stuff. I mean, you do, but you might get laughed at. Like if you go warrior sub white mage and try to say this is basically paladin, right? That don't work in Final Fantasy XI. That's just not how it works in any case at all. So yeah, there's single player games go nuts, but in multiplayer games, it's I always find it to be a bit silly when it tries to be more than what it is, because it's always going to boil down to playing the same things over and over again. Well, the hashtag's not on the screen right now, but hashtag mandagmet miner gelukig. I mean, I know what it means, I hope, but hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. That's Dutch, in case you want to try not butchering it. You should probably lead with that information, and it doesn't help at the same time. So, but yes, hello, Haps. How fare you this day? Quick cue for you. Are they confirmed? After they confirm, we'd be getting no new ultimates this expansion from this point on. Yeah, we're not getting another one. Do you think they'll add something that will tide us over until 7.0 and 6.5 or 6.55? You have relics, you have whatever Savage tier is still around at the time. You have the ultimates that most people won't have cleared by that time. And you have the Criterions. There should be 2 more Criterions still releasing this expansion, according to their original schedule. Should be getting a variant and a Criterion in 0.45 and a variant and a Criterion in 0.55. Whether or not there's anything else, who knows? Doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I don't need them to create reasons for me to play. I'll find reasons if I want them, and if I don't want to, then I'll play other games in the meantime, which works perfectly fine for me. Hashtag Mr. Happy Ivy Mondays. Yeah, she's chilling right behind me, cleaning herself. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. What'd you cook this week? I've been cooking the same thing every week. So I've been getting HelloFresh, and now with the Every Plate sponsor, Every Plate for the next month. I've been cooking the same thing, the same $7 meal for the past several weeks in an attempt to save money, where basically I buy like 5 pounds of chicken thighs, $5 worth of chicken thighs, about like a little bit under $2 of pasta. And I air fry the chicken, I cook up the pasta, and I mix it with like butter, cream cheese, salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, a few other things in there. And it's like several pounds of food in like a container like this big. And that's like the majority of what I've been making because it costs $7 and it lasts days and days and days. And it usually lasts me until my next, in this case, Every Plate box shows up. And then that'll tide me over for, several more days after that. So, that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying not to spend money because I've, still had stuff with my mother going on while she was waiting for her mediation, some of her results to come back for some things. And then I've got the move, and it's tax season, so I'm about to go full ramen mode on spending just to make sure that I feel comfortable with what's in my bank account. This is a thing that I occasionally think about, but was 14 the only thing keeping the Final Fantasy franchise going, considering how bad 13 and its 2 sequels were? 13 did phenomenally. I don't know where people get the idea that 13 did poorly. It's one of the highest selling Final Fantasy games. It by no means. Now I will say they went way too far by making 2 more sequels, but even 13-2 did pretty well. Lightning Returns did not. So no, I don't think so. But I think it restored people's faith in Final Fantasy because Versus 13. I don't know why you talked about 13 without talking about Versus 13 and the absolute disaster that was. That was way worse for anything. And 15, even if they had stopped with 15 when it did well the first time, it would have been fine. It made all of its development cost back in 48 hours of being available for sale. It sold like 6.1 million units in that time, 48 hours. And I don't even, 16 is not going to sell that much in 48 hours. I guarantee it. Okay, I can't guarantee it, but I'm very willing to bet because it's only on PS5 that it won't. But it's like, no, I don't think so, but it definitely restored people's faith in the franchise, which kind of gave it time to recover in terms of, whatever disaster, 1.0 being the real disaster here. Hashtag Happy Mondays, Mister. Okay, hi. I play on PS5. My feet aren't quick enough to use a calculator while raiding. So I was curious I get it. I was curious if looking at the aggro order for DPS during a fight is one way to see which DPS is doing more damage. It is. Yeah, that's what most people do. So, yes. That's the answer. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Quick question. Is there a reason sprint isn't infinite outside of combat? No good reason. That's it. That's the answer. Once again, dude, you guys give me the easy questions here at the end. There's no good reason, but that's how it is. So, hashtag Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope all is going well. Same to you. Had a couple questions regarding FanFest. I was one of the unlucky ones that didn't win the lottery. Hey, welcome to the club. You have any tips for trying to get tickets from general admin sales? It's like trying to get concert tickets. You have to be there with as many pages open, refreshing and hoping you're fast enough. That's it. There will definitely be tickets. I've already had a ton of people reach out to me and say they don't want to go anymore because their friend circle can't make it. So they're trying to they're either saying if people want to you know, compensate me for the code. But I don't know how that works. I don't think that really works properly. So, and I don't want to try to get through general sales. I've been through that life before, and at this point, I consider it a sign I just shouldn't go. I'm better off staying at home. You can still go by yourself if you do manage to get a ticket, but I wouldn't want to. I know people who do, but I wouldn't want to, especially because, I mean, obviously, I'd be meeting a ton of people there, but it's still, I'm more introverted than I may seem, and I'm sure it still seems that way. And so being at an event completely on my own is not good for my mental. So I personally wouldn't want to do it. So I won't speak for anyone else, but people do it. All right, this is a long video. There's a lot more questions than I thought I saw. We're near the end, but I'm going to lightning round the rest of them, so apologies in advance. What is your opinion on what makes a good player? I answered that before, actually. Thankfully, that's perfect, because I've answered that once already, the same video. 2 questions. What's the requisite thing that triggers a crossover event? They just have to decide that it's doable, like scheduling-wise, because it takes resources from both teams to do it. So, you know, Yoshi P needs to talk to Yoshi P about whether or not Yoshi P can make this event happen with Yoshi P. And I think it will happen. I think a 14-16 event will happen. Maybe not by release, but at some point. You think Square will ever put more effort into glamour pieces? I feel like there's recycled, recolored sets from other expansions. Yeah, because people want those. I mean, there's tons of sets that aren't just that. But there are also tons of sets that are that because people want that. Especially, people were going nuts over the new High Allegan stuff you can get from PvP because it's a completely different die set that looks way better than the original one. So people like that kind of stuff a lot of the time. So you can't really... It's not about whether or not they put more effort into it. They put a lot of effort into it. It's just they're also giving people what they want that are in simpler categories as well. Then we had one here. Do you think challenging solo content in the game will ever be made more accessible? No. It is what it is, and I don't see them doing anything about it at this point. Like, the duels are not so bad to get into. Obviously, it is a bit of a time headache, but Deep Dungeon, yeah, no, they're not going to make Deep Dungeon any quicker, because that's, like, part of the challenge, is the length of which you have to go through completely solo. But no, I don't think they're going to change anything at all in that regards. Let's see. And then somebody asking which version of all right I am. I see that. Some of it, but not all. All left, all right, and I. I'm at I. Let's see. When what game was announced? Oh, Stranger, have you played? Yeah, I played the first 2 DLCs. I didn't have time for the third one. It came out at a really, really bad time. I heckin' love Strangers of Paradise, though. Jack is awesome. The game is awesome. Can highly recommend it. So yeah, big fan. I can highly recommend it. Let me see. If I DC travel, will my FC see me online? I don't think so. I think it indicates that you're on another server, maybe, but I don't know that it indicates whether or not you're online. And then what else do we have here? Seen a lot of discontent with 14 lately. It's normal. I mean, once people get bored, people do that. People unhappy about content. See, here's the thing. The only people I hear unhappy about content are people who do it way too much, like me. Job design I never got. I've always vehemently disagreed with a lot of things, but there are a few things that definitely need to. Here's what I always say about 14. 14 is balanced so tightly that any discrepancy in either feel or gameplay, even by a % or 2, is mountains out of molehills, because it is the only thing to discuss or talk about. Because if you're looking, everyone wants to discuss things that can be better, and sometimes you want it to be better even if it's not that bad. And that tends to be what happens with 14. But I mean, it's just about the circles that you're in. It sometimes feels overwhelming, makes me feel upset. You can't be upset that people are criticizing things. Like, I don't see that much criticism, and I do go around to a lot of streams, and YouTube, actually, I almost never watch anything. People always ask me, oh, have you seen this 14 YouTube video? And I go, no, I don't. I literally never watch 14 stuff on YouTube, ever. Like, it's like maybe once every 2 or 3 months. Because I'm already like so absorbed into it, I don't need to be watching it in my off time as well. And most of the time on Twitch streams, the only reason I'm in there is because I know the individual, or I'm just like seeing what people are doing out of curiosity, because you can always grow and learn that way. But yeah, you can't let other people's opinions like upset you, or discussion upset you, because again, yeah, criticism's healthy, and there can be good discussion about things, but it's also about knowing who you're listening to and how they're formulating themselves. Because some people get a lot of traction on a topic, but they don't necessarily articulate the opinion super well. And some people articulate well, but don't get a lot of attention on a topic. So it's always about perspective, I suppose. Then we have, what's this one? Oh my goodness, there's a super ultra omega long question here. Should I be afraid devs are going to make all the jobs of the game really complex and unfun? No. Have you seen what they've done to jobs over the past 2 expansions? we have been very vocal in the past 2 expansions. That has not in any way changed the way that things have done. So no, not at all. Somebody asking when 6.35 is. We know that. And I think that's the end of all the questions. The rest are just comments, a few things, smiles, algorithm related stuff, length of the video related stuff. Somebody's saying they were surprised that I don't think P4 and P8 are that different in terms of their mechanical executional requirements. I find the mistakes that people make in them are relatively similar. Like both dog phases are really easy. Both snake phases throw people, even though they're not very complicated. And everything in between is just a lot of moving. It's a lot of memorization, which is something a lot of people struggle with. And it was the same problem with Asphodelos. You know, people would forget, you know, tanks first, DPS first, and then the tether grabbing and the moving out and the healing Rex. And then of course you have the buff windows during all of the knockbacks and spreads and stacks, and just it's a lot of the same exact issues, but the scaling and the tuning on Abyssos was a lot tighter. So I definitely think it pushed it. And like high concept, those like all downtime mechanics, I always think are a joke. Personally, Hesperos phase 2, I actually like more than Hephaestus phase 2, because I'm not a fan of like full downtime mechanics and savage encounters. Not to mention the last like minute 20 seconds with the Phoenix buff is so, it's not even like a minute 10, it's like 100 seconds. And yeah, it just creates just such a toxic environment for the crit variants that I much prefer Hesperos. I feel like its design was a lot healthier. But either way, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Another long one, but you know what? Thanks to that nap and food, I don't mind at all. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And if you have a question, ask it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to check out all the sponsors in the description. And if you have any questions about them, feel free to ask in the comment section as well, because, you know, I have experience with them. They're not just paying in here all of a sudden. I have years of experience with a lot of those things, so be sure to ask away. Anyway, with that, I'll see all of you in the next video. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.